Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome back, listeners, to the Mindful Living podcast, where we explore the ways we can bring deeper awareness, joy, and growth into our lives. Today's guest is the incredible Sherry Shaban, a Montreal based podcaster, fitness expert, life coach, and anti diet advocate who's been empowering people to redefine their relationship with fitness and their bodies for over 25 years. But listeners, Sherry's journey to becoming a fitness powerhouse wasn't smooth. At 16, she faced a near paralyzing accident and underwent multiple back surgeries that shook her foundation as an athlete. Yet, she turned these challenges into her life's mission to help others shift from protection mode to safety mode and transform self limiting beliefs into pathways for growth and resilience. And in today's conversation, we'll dive into the silent battle within that so many of us, face between protection mode and safety mode, and how understanding these states can transform not only our physical health but our entire outlook on life. So get ready for some eye-opening conversation insights that might just change how you view yourself and your potential. So, Sherry, welcome to the show, and it is an absolute pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you so much, San. I'm so honored to be here with you today.
Sherry, could you start by explaining the difference between protection mode and safety mode? What exactly are these, and how these concepts impact our health and mindset?
Yeah, so these are terms that I coined based on the nervous system. And you shared a little bit of my story, and a big part of it that I actually only started to share publicly was once I got into the health and fitness space, my ultimate goal was to overcome a major injury. When I was a teenager, I was struck by a car, I was nearly paralyzed, and then I went on to have 2 back surgeries, and doctors telling me, Sherry, you're never allowed to play sports ever again, and you could just do some light walking on a treadmill. That will be suitable for you. And if ever one day you were to become pregnant, this could create a lot of problems for you in life. And so I listened to this advice for a very, very long time. It was very difficult for me because growing up, I was a child athlete. It was my identity. It was all that I knew. It's how I always saw myself. And then there was this moment in my early 20s where I just woke up one day and I just couldn't recognize myself anymore. I had developed a lot of habits that didn't align with who I saw myself as. And it was at that moment, even though I was relying on pain medication to get through my day every single day, I decided I'm going to sign up at the local gym. And at that time, I was a very big science nerd. I was doing my master's degree in chemistry. I had already had a bachelor's degree in biochemistry. And I signed up at the gym and just started copying people. And this went on for months and months. And eventually, I overcame back pain. I was able to come off pain medication. And that's when I really decided to shift my whole world and start to get into just understanding a little bit more about biomechanics, human anatomy, resilience, fitness, health, and of course, nutrition. And as I went down this journey, I got more degrees. I got an exercise science degree. I became a DO, which is an osteopath. And I started taking all kinds of certifications that I could possibly get my hands on. And a big part of this journey also was learning about nutrition. And so this is really where the whole idea and concept of the nervous system started, because as I got into understanding diets, what I started to learn was you start one diet and there's a set of rules, and these set of rules prove with scientific backup that this is the right way to eat. And then you move into a next one, and then the next one says the same thing, except the facts are completely opposing that first diet. But again, this is also backed by science. And so even though my goal was not to lose weight, it was really just let me learn how to eat and to understand nutrition and the body so that I can work with my clients. And so I first started with calorie counting because that's what everyone was doing. And then all of a sudden I heard, well, we don't calorie count now. We want to make sure that we're not eating fats because fats are very bad. And so I took fats out of my diet. And then after that, I heard that, well, actually carbs are very bad. And there's this guy named Atkins who has this Atkins diet that proves that carbs are bad and fats are good and meat is good. And so I started eating this way. And then all of a sudden I opened CrossFit gyms. And then I heard we're supposed to eat like a caveman. And so I started doing that. And then after a while I became keto. And after a while I followed the zone diet. And then I even became vegan for a while. And all of this, what happened on this journey is I started to create a very disordered relationship with food. It was actually a relationship with food that was very much based on fear. And because I was always changing my rules all the time and always feeling guilt or shame if I didn't follow the rules, what I didn't realize is that there was this part of my nervous system that I had triggered, this part of the nervous system that I call protection mode, that actually triggers us to want to protect ourselves. And this is a way that we can ensure our survival. This, again, is on a very primitive level. This is the reptilian part of the brain. And so the part of the nervous system that I talk about that is harnessing protection mode or safety mode is the autonomic nervous system. Some of us know this as sympathetic nervous state, fight, flight, or freeze response. And then we also have parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest response. Now, we know that yes, heart rate changes and breathing changes, and there's different areas of the body that have more priority than others depending on which nervous system state you're in. But what we don't know is that the nervous system states also dictate our thoughts and our emotions. And so when we're in protection mode, what happens physiologically in the body is, number one, the metabolism slows down. It has to slow down because this is how our body magnificently is trying to protect us, is trying to ensure our survival by making sure that whatever stored energy that we have can last way, way longer. And then the other thing that happens is that we kick in this response where we are binge eating, where we are overeating, where we actually are craving foods that are very high in calories, that are very high in instant energy. And this is the job of cortisol. Cortisol is that hormone. And the job of cortisol is to make sure that there is always blood sugar available in case suddenly you need to run, you need to jump, you need to protect yourself, you need to do something drastic quickly. And so when we bring this into our modern society, where of course we have the daily stresses, we have the stress of the children and the stress of finances and the stress of work, and of course adding the stress of dieting and being overweight and not feeling comfortable in your body and always struggling with weight, what we actually do is we kick in protection mode. We lock ourselves into protection mode. And when we do that, the body will always favor weight gain. It'll always make it very difficult for you to release weight. And then what you end up seeing happening is constant self-sabotage. You get some good results, then all of a sudden you're back to eating the ice cream, or you lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight. And this is what we generally see when people have been dieting for so many years, especially for decades, and they've started to develop this fear base around food. And now I've shared with you what happens physiologically when we're in protection mode, but what also happens when we're in protection mode is there's an influence on thoughts and emotions. And so when we are in protection mode, when we're in fight or flight, our thoughts are always projected either into the future or into the past. We're not really in the present moment, meaning if we are going to ensure our survival, then we have to learn how to predict a worst case scenario, which is why when we are stressed, we're always thinking about, oh my God, what would happen if this happens? Oh my God, what would happen if that happens? Oh my God, if this happens. And we're always worried. And those are the emotions. So because our thoughts are projected on worst case scenarios, we have constant fear, worry, doubt, shame, disappointment, you name it, anything that makes us feel uneasy and out of our alignment, those are going to be the emotions that we sit in, which again re-triggers us to have more cortisol circulating and continue in our behavior. And why this is really important is because we have to ask ourselves this very, very, very basic question. If diets were so successful, why isn't anybody really successful on diets? And you notice that people who've been dieting have been dieting forever. They don't really ever stop dieting. And actually, you notice after every single diet, they gain more and more weight. Sure, they lose a whole bunch of weight while they're on it, and that happens quickly. But then the moment that they stop, then all of a sudden they gain all that weight back and more. And so when we actually work on the nervous system, what we actually do is we stop the self-sabotaging behavior. We stop the overeating. We stop the eating the things that don't serve us. We stop the over drinking. We stop maybe the cannabis use. Anything that we're using to cope with those emotions, like I shared, the fear, the uncertainty, the doubt, the shame, the guilt, all of those emotions. When we can actually learn how to manage them by shifting our nervous system, then we're not overeating. Then we're not leading ourselves to all those behaviors that are actually resulting in the weight gain. And then we rewire our relationship with food, we rewire our thoughts, and we are no longer sitting in that anxiety and that state of protection.
That's a great explanation, Sherry. Great explanation. So your journey is such a powerful example of overcoming adversity. So, how did shifting from a protection mindset to one focused on safety and resilience play a role in your own recovery after your accident and surgeries?
Yeah. So when we look at protection mode and we look at safety mode, we can also say that protection mode is a scarcity mindset. Safety mode is an abundance mindset. So think about it. If I'm always worried and if I'm always afraid or have fear or have shame or have any of these emotions, I'm always thinking about what's going to go wrong. What do I not have enough of? What can I not do? What am I not able to do? But when we shift into that safety mode where we're now in an abundant mindset, now we're thinking about all the things that we have, gratitude, all the things that we're actually able to achieve. And this is really how I actually started to heal myself and to be completely honest, Sana, at first, I will admit I was definitely in protection mode. I had a disordered relationship with food. I was always thinking about, well, if all of this hadn't happened to me, and I would be such an amazing athlete right now. If all of these things didn't happen to me, I'd be competing right now. And if my back didn't, then I would, and it was constantly if, then. And that is a scarcity mindset thought. And actually what it does is it limits you, because the doctors were saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I would also notice my own limitations in the gym. If I lifted weight that was too heavy, I'd be in pain. And so I'd be angry at that. Well, if it wasn't for my back, I'd be able to lift heavier and I'd be able to be stronger and I'd be able to do this and I'd be able to do that. And instead, what I actually started to do was start focusing on gratitude. And that's really one of the first ways that we can shift from protection mode to safety mode is just gratitude, because gratitude is the quickest way to bring us right into the present moment. And the present moment brought me to, oh my goodness, I'm not paralyzed. I'm so grateful. I get to walk. I get to do a lot of activities. I get to move. I get to run. I get to do a lot with my body. And it just started to open up the possibility of what I do have and what I do get to do instead of what I'm not able to do. And all of a sudden, all of these doorways just started to open. I started to train very differently. Once I had that realization, I started to work mostly with my body weight. This led me to create a lot of online programs to help people with a lot of injuries who weren't able to lift heavy weights. And then to create an app of my own where really you can work out at home. You don't need equipment. And it's amazing how this is what abundance means. Abundance means that if you take one flame and one candle and you light another candle, both candles can still be lit up. And you can continue to light more and more and more candles. You never run out. And so anyone who's going through adversity is always thinking about what they're missing out on. What are they not able to do? What is it, that one thing that they're blocked from? And the moment that you can actually start to step into the gratitude of what you do have, because there could have always been something worse. And to be honest, we still have so many gifts. And usually we only realize what these gifts are the moment that they're taken away from us. And so when we step into that gratitude of, oh my goodness, I can breathe freely. I wake up every day, I have eyesight, and I get to hear everything around me. I get to taste food. I get to digest my food. I get to go poop every single day. I get to be able to move my body freely. All of these things, once they're taken away from us, we realize just how much of a gift it really was. And so once we get into that place of gratitude, we then start to realize, well, what can I do? What can I do? And if you think about how most people approach their fitness, they're always thinking about, well, I still can't run that fast, or I still can't lift that heavy, or I still got 30 more pounds to go. And again, that's the scarcity mindset. That's protection mode. That's always triggering the nervous system to feel like there's a lack, there's not enough, and the body will respond. Every single thought that we have creates chemistry in the body. If we have a thought that's fearful, we're going to release cortisol. And that's very different than having a thought that's grateful, that's going to release oxytocin or other hormones that are going to make us feel good. And so once we can start to see all of the things that are available for us, all the things that we're actually able to do, we can overcome that adversity. And I always say that any good story always has not just a hero, but also a villain. And we always think that our story should just be the hero story, that everything should be great in our life and there should be nothing challenging. But you never go to the movies to watch that movie. You would never go to a movie to watch a movie about somebody who is super rich and famous and really good looking in the beginning, and then in the middle, they don't go through any struggle. They're still really rich and famous and good looking. And then in the end, oh, look at them. They're really rich. You don't go to watch that movie, but you go to that movie to watch somebody who's struggling, who suddenly came out of nowhere, who suddenly built themselves up, either regenerated their health or maybe even built their own empires, self-made people. This is what you go to watch. And so when you realize that every single good story has that villain, well, we all have that villain in our life, and we can learn how to work with it. And if we appreciate it, if we accept it, if we allow it in as part of our story, and deciding how are we going to write that ending? Am I always going to be the victim, or am I going to be the hero? And then that becomes so empowering.
True. That is true. Lovely, lovely, Sherry. And many people struggle with self-judgments, harsh self-judgment, especially around body image and fitness. And we are seeing this across generations right now with the advent of social media. What are some practical steps to break free from this critical mindset and instead adopt a compassionate, safety-first approach?
Oh, I love this question so much. This is such an important question. And this is an important conversation, because you're so right. And what's so scary about social media is the algorithms, is that they start to know, when you're on an app, they start to know exactly what you like. And, just recently, I just uninstalled the Instagram app off of my phone, because I realized every single time I have 5 minutes, or I'm in a waiting room, or I just have extra time on my hands, I just automatically open up that app and I start scrolling. And I start scrolling, and at one point I realized that all of my feed was the same thing. And it was all suggested videos, suggested videos, suggested videos. And it really freaked me out because it showed me just how much this app knows my psychology. It knows exactly what I like to look at. And the problem with that is social media creates a sense of comparison. And
Exactly.
it's this sense of comparison. And on top of it, it's not even an accurate sense of comparison because people are showing you either a photo or a 20-second video of their life that they really create. It's fabricated, and anyone can show you anything that they actually want you to see. Social media is really you seeing what people want you to see, but not the whole picture. And so as we're on social media, it looks like everyone else is doing really great or have a really great life or has huge success. And very rarely do we see people's struggles, or very rarely do we see videos unfiltered or maybe unedited. Everything is so completely thought out of in terms of what type of reaction it wants to create for the viewer. And so, one of the greatest things I will say, and especially for the younger generation, is unfollow or follow things that actually make you feel good. If you notice that you're on social media and you walk away feeling not enough, that feeling that I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not successful enough, any of the not enoughness, if you have that impression, then I recommend that you start to unfollow those accounts and start to follow accounts where you do feel inspired, because there are some accounts out there that really have information that can help inspire you. And so if you want to stay on social media, then go ahead and do that. Otherwise, limit your time. Limit your time. And there's this one saying that I always use still as a motto for my life. This is something that my swim teacher had said to me when I was young. I was swimming in a competition one time, and when I was done, he told me, Sherry, every time you turn to look at who's in the lane beside you, you slow down. And I
Exactly.
was like, oh my goodness, this is right. This is the absolute metaphor for life, is that the more we compare ourselves with others, we slow down because we always feel like we are not enough. And so just dismissing that amount of time that you spend on social media is really, really important. And then the other thing that I want to say is that the way that we trigger protection mode, the way that we trigger that nervous system state, is by anytime we're feeling unsafe. And so if I'm saying these things to myself, oh, you're ugly, you're disgusting, you're gross, you're this, you're that, and I'm really, really just shaming my body, that triggers my nervous system. Because if someone were saying these words to me, I would be triggered. And you'd never say these words to others, and yet you say them to yourself. And so you don't say it to others because it's so hurtful. Well, when you say it to yourself and then you say it to yourself all day long, you are in that constant nervous system state all day long. And so an exercise I give my clients often is this mirror exercise, where you stand 100% naked in front of the mirror. This is in the morning, and you just scan your body, giving it love. Loving your hair, loving your face, loving every feature on your face, loving every single part of your body, looking at your legs, and instead of shaming the size, being thankful and grateful that they carry you everywhere. Imagine if you were in a wheelchair. You would do anything to have these legs. And just going through every single part of your body. If you've had a baby and maybe that changed the way your belly looks, well, imagine life came out of that beautiful body. It was able to harness life. And so as you allow yourself to just do this, it might feel awkward at first, but give yourself 1 or 2 minutes, and before you know it, then all of a sudden you'll start to embody that. And as a final thing I want to say is the most powerful force in the human psyche is how we describe ourselves. And the way that we describe ourselves is followed by the words I am. So anything that you say after I am becomes your truth, and unconsciously you're going to support that throughout the day. And so be very mindful with how you say the words I am, and always try to say it in the positive. If you catch yourself in the negative, that happens sometimes, but do your best to really bring it into the positive and say positive affirmations about yourself.
Definitely. Lovely, lovely. That was really, really very empowering, Sherry. And I totally agree with you whatever you said. And another interesting part of your, you know, journey is you refer to your clients as athletes to
Mhm.
help reframe their relationship with fitness. So, could you share why this shift in identity is so important and how it can help someone stuck in a cycle of diet culture or exercise punishment?
Yeah. So, athlete is a mindset, and we can observe some of our favorite athletes. And by the way, it doesn't mean you need to play professionally and make gazillion dollars a year to be an athlete. Athlete is just how you show up for yourself. And if we observe our favorite athletes, we notice that they're very committed to their performance, that they maybe turn down certain social events because they honor their recovery. They
Right.
eat a certain way because the intention is to fuel their body, and their body is their temple. And so movement is how they express that gratitude for their body. It's really always pushing themselves to see how hard and how much they can do. And where we are looking at diet culture, we notice that generally there is a different energy that we use when we're looking at losing weight. It's actually an energy of punishment. It's an energy of disappointment. It's lack of love. I go to the gym because I gain a lot of weight and I got to lose this weight because I can't believe it. And everyone's going to say something and it's almost my birthday, or I'm turning 50 and I have to lose this weight, or I have to stop eating this because I can't believe I gained all this weight. It is such an energy of punishment and demotivation. And so the association becomes, if I exercise and I eat a certain way, it's really a means to lose weight. And because I'm not happy with myself and I don't like the way that I look, then there's always this negative association that's built around self-care. Whereas an athlete doesn't go to the gym to lose weight and isn't focused on that physical appearance. They're not choosing certain foods because that's a means for them to, again, release weight or manipulate their physical body, unless it's going to support their performance. So the moment that we can start calling ourselves, I am an athlete, I am an athlete, I am an athlete, then all of a sudden we're going to honor sleep. We're going to honor our social environments. We're going to honor whether or not we drink alcohol. We're going to honor what we are eating, what we're consuming. And so as we begin to shift into that mindset, we're no longer dieting and exercising. We're now training. We're now respecting the body, and we're really pushing ourselves to our limits and curious about what the body can do for us.
Definitely. Great, great, Sherry. And some people believe that focusing on safety can make us avoid pushing ourselves to the limit or setting big goals. It can reduce our risk appetite. What's your take on the idea that a safety mindset could hold people back?
This is a great question, because it's interesting in our society, Sana, it's all or none. It's either you come on, work hard all the time, 100% of the time, or if you don't work at all and you just want to take it easy, then you're lazy. And we actually see in both ways, in both extremes, these are very, very polarized ways of approaching anything. One either very extreme with a lot of effort, and one without effort, almost looking complacent a little bit. And so, why do we not shift back and forth? If we look at the cycle of the universe or the cycle of life around us, there's day and then there's night. And then there's different seasons. And there is life and there's death. And then there is needing to go a little bit fast sometimes and needing to slow down. And we don't do that. And so if we're actually able to get into the rhythm where we're following certain patterns, where there's certain patterns where we are pushing really hard, but then there's other moments where we're giving ourselves rest. And then again, pushing ourselves really hard. And other times where we're giving ourselves rest, then what we actually do is we have longevity. We're actually able to go longer, and we're able to manage our stress. So protection mode is healthy to be in. We're not wanting to demonize it, but we also want to understand that if you're chronically stuck there all the time, not only are you going to start to struggle with unwanted weight and other behaviors, but the body literally starts to create dis-ease. This is the cause of a lot of dis-ease, when the body's unable to get into that place of rest, because safety mode also means rest and digest and rejuvenation and healing. And if we don't allow ourselves to heal on a physical level, on a mental level, on a spiritual level, on a social level, then we're always going to be in that place of constant struggle, constant suffering. And so I think this is is actually what's really missing, is really cycling through that safety inside all of that hard work that you're doing. And this is certainly something that I've learned to do over time. I never used to congratulate myself or celebrate the amazing accomplishments I've done. I would do one and then boom, right into the next, and then boom, right into the next. And now I really sit and reflect, and we can follow the seasons if we want as a way to actually give ourselves that rest. Women can actually also follow their menstrual cycle as a way to rest. During that time of their menstruation, that's a time to reflect and sit back and just observe. And then during the time of their ovulation, that's a time to push and to really get things done and to really go out and get stuff. And so if you're able to just find a flow, because even if you look at a body of water, there's a flow, there's an ebb, there's a flow, there's an in and there's an out, and we're meant to be the same way. Even the heart pumps, and there's pressure that is systolic and diastolic. There is a latent pressure, and then there's the actual pressure. So if we follow the law of the universe, we should be doing things in ease, in flow, and at the same time, that doesn't mean that we are just sitting there doing nothing, but it also means that we're actually honoring our body and allowing it to heal.
Definitely. Great, great share. That was a great answer. And finally, in your experience, how does stepping into safety mode impact our ability to achieve our goals, not just in fitness, but in life? Do you have any tips for maintaining this mindset when things get challenging?
Yeah, so good. So safety mode really is that place of the nervous system. We spoke a lot about protection mode, but safety mode is that place of the nervous system where we are calm, where we are centered, where we're so more connected to our spirit, where we can be at ease, where the body can rest, it can heal, it can digest, it can rejuvenate itself. And it's also that place where creativity comes from. And if we look at nature, we will notice that animals don't procreate when they feel unsafety in their environment. They won't mate. Only until they feel safe do they actually mate. And if you think about all of the creativity that you need to launch a business, to write a book, to even be in your relationship, to have a better relationship with money, to have a better relationship with your body, all of that energy comes from safety mode. It really comes from that place of creativity. And the way that we can step into that is by, again, harnessing that sense of gratitude. Gratitude is the fastest way, that along with changing your breath, doing breath work, really doing deep diaphragmatic breathing, and really learning to just connect with breath. All of these ways help us to get into safety mode. And if we're able to do that and give ourselves that time out every single time that we're feeling all of the stress in our lives, then we can start to become more creative. And if we're more creative, what we're also doing is we're attracting more things into our life, because what we have right now in our life are not the things that we want. What we actually have in our life is how we are being. We don't get what we want, we get who we are. And so if we're always stressed and angry and in a bad mood and always criticizing and blaming and shaming, you're going to notice that that's all of the interactions that you have in your life. But if you're grateful and you're kind and you're compassionate and you hold space for others and you think of others first, and that's how you actually operate, always for the benefit of others. How can I be of greater service? How can I be more helpful? Then you'll suddenly notice that everybody is also bringing that back to you. So there's so much merit in understanding that the nervous system also really helps us to shape our thoughts, to shape our emotions, and we can actually change the outcome and the outlook of our life simply by learning how to just sit still for a moment, breathe, and have more gratitude.
Lovely. Lovely. Those were some great tips. Sherry, and finally, if listeners want to connect with you, how they can do that?
Well, thank you so much, Sana. I've loved this conversation with you. Thank you again for having me on your show. The fastest way to reach me is on Instagram. My handle there is at Sherry Shaban Fitness. And then if you've liked this conversation today and you notice that you do have unwanted eating behavior, I have a free workbook for you that you can grab at makepeacewithfood.com. It'll give you some self-reflection exercises and really help you start to overcome binge eating or emotional eating.
Lovely, lovely. We'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes. And Sherry, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and energy with us. This journey from protection to safety mode and embracing an athletic mindset is something we all can take to heart. So, thank you for sharing your story and your journey with us.
Thank you so much, Sana. My pleasure.
And to our listeners, if you are ready to ditch the self doubt, redefine your relationship with fitness and yourself, and tap into your potential, make sure to check out the show notes. And Sherry, just wanted to also check, you have a podcast as well, Fall in Love with Fitness. So how can our listeners get access to that as well?
Yes, this is a beautiful space. Also, I interview lovely guests and have many
Mm.
conversations around some of the things that you may have heard today. And this is called Fall in Love with Fitness. You can get it on iTunes, Spotify, any of your favorite podcast apps. And there's also a YouTube version available if you want to check out the video format.
Lovely. We'll have the details mentioned as well. And listeners, transformation starts from the inside out. So, thank you to everyone for joining us on Mindful Living. And until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep growing. Thank you.